Hey everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be unboxing and reviewing the 7-inch digital dash from Holley. Before we go any further, I just want to point out this video is not sponsored by Holley. They don't even know I'm making it. I purchased this with my own money, so you're going to get my legitimate thoughts and feelings towards it. No money has changed hands. I bought this off of Amazon just like everyone else, and the affiliate link is located down below in the description. This is a standalone gauge cluster set, so if you happen to have a Dominator ECU with their built-in wiring harness that has that CAN bus connector available to you, you can just buy this little pod, plug it in, and you have a whole gauge set. And that's really useful, and it's also very versatile with its tuning capabilities. With all that out of the way, let's jump in.
All right, before we put this in our car, we need to take it out of the box, right? And see it comes with it. So this is the unit. It is in kind of a plain box, but that's all right. In my experience, things that come in plain boxes end up being higher quality products than stuff with flashy marketing. Kind of gives you a taste of what is inside, but enough yapping. Let's get it open. So you're greeted with a quick start guide that's going to be super handy about how the whole thing works, how to mount it, how to plug it in. Very cool. Oh, it does come with a mounting template. Okay, cool. So they're kind of helping you out there and basically showing you what you would have to drill into a piece of sheet metal or something to mount this correctly. That's pretty cool. And a warranty. Very nice. Extended warranty, even better. Okay, so here is our unit. It is pretty good size. I think this is more than adequate for something like a gauge set, especially in a high performance race application. Okay, so it has two CAN bus connectors, so you can have a CAN bus pass through if you want, so you can plug in a CAN bus to like a laptop or something, and then into the ECM itself. It also comes with two USB dongles for other accessories, such as this ADATA USB thumb drive, 16 gigabytes. So it gives you quite a lot of space. Those files aren't super huge, so I'm interested. It's interesting why they give us that much, but hey, I'd rather have it than not. So you can route that somewhere. You can route this somewhere and load tunes directly from the handheld, not need a laptop. Let's say you have a track tune, you go boop, and it puts it in track mode and you're good to go. And then when you want to drive home, you push the thing again and you can load the street tune. That's really cool. So this is a CAN bus adapter. If you have the old style CAN bus, pre-2010, I think is the cutoff year. That's what this dongle adapter is for. We're not going to need that. We have the newer style. Oh, this is cool. So right here is a CAN bus extension in case the regular CAN bus wire on here isn't long enough, which it might not be depending on where you mounted your ECM. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this thing up and plug it in and show you how that's done. And obviously mounting it's going to be different per car and application, and you can be as creative as you want. So here's what I came up with. But before I do that, let's go over what we're replacing. All these gauges here are what that digital dash is going to be replacing, plus a few other gauges that I don't have. But look at the complexity. Look how many wires you're going to have to figure out plugs in and where's goes and what sensors go where. And a lot of those sensors are already feeding our ECM, so we'd have to split that off somehow and hope that they don't affect the computer. That seems like a big headache to me when you can just plug in one CAN bus system to a digital dash set and have it look really clean and nice and be able to change tunes on the fly. So this is super complicated and old school, but I am going to use this mounting bracket because it's a really nice temporary bracket to put the dash in just to get the car running and rolling around to be tuned. Of course, I will have something a lot more permanent in the future, but I think it'll go right here on this piece of metal I've already had made. So I'm gonna take these gauges out, mount it to there, put it in the car, plug it in, and we should be done. So this is what I've come up with. It's just flush mounted on this piece of aluminum that I cut out and riveted to the old piece because the old piece has that nice bend on it. And I didn't want to make a new one. This is super easy to mount, by the way, and it is made of really strong stuff, and I'm not worried about it like falling off. This is really cool. Now it's time to put it in the car and just plug that one CAN connector in to our Dominator ECU, and it should just work. All right, so now we are in the driver's seat of a Factory 5 GTM. I've cleaned up the install of the bezel, so it's just the pod. I think that looks really snazzy. And again, this is temporary. I'm sure literally everyone watching could make something better, but I think this is good for testing purposes and tuning purposes. Also, I have the optional GPS dongle. This is about another $100, and you can put this on the roof of your car or on the dash or something like that, and that just instantly gives you a GPS speedometer, which you're going to want And it makes really easy. And it just plugs into one of the USBs I showed earlier. So pretty simple. So we can turn the car on and you might hear a whining noise. That's the electric power steering pump on this car. It's not the unit. The unit is completely silent. Okay. So it takes a sec to boot up, but once it does, we have our gauge set, and this is just one of many. I think there's like 10, so we can kind of scroll through that option and change our gauge set out. So this looks like a 69 Camaro gauge set. Well, that's pretty good. I like that one too. Just plain. And what's really cool about any of these gauge sets is you can customize them. So let's say you don't want, I don't know, the volt gauge. You can customize this and change its sweep, how much its transparency. I think the default's fine. You can also change which gauge it is. Let's say you want coolant there. So we need to clear that. So you just kind of customize things around. Look how customizable this is. Let's say you want to just call it cool. And now, cool, I didn't change the sweep, so that's a little bit different. But let's say you want that gauge gone. Boom, don't want it there anymore. You can just customize this to your heart's content. I'll discard these because they're not the changes I would want exactly. And I think, discard. I think this is probably the better way to go about it. As far as the gauges go, and you can customize this. You can add a gauge if you want, or a switch, or a label. So this is just absolutely customizable to your heart's content. But the really cool features of this pod are its tuning capabilities. So you can go into advanced tuning and set this up. You can also just use your user selected. So let's say, like earlier, you have a street tune and a track tune, and then you're made in the shade. You can just set them for whatever one you're doing. You can even do individual cylinder tuning, spark control, idle control, fueling, all kinds of different settings. You can do a base fuel. And it gives you your actual base fuel map without a laptop. This is absolutely incredible. On-the-fly tuning from your gauge set, and you don't need to remember to bring your laptop and plug into the ECM like a traditional gauge set. So this gives you a lot, and I mean a lot, of flexibility and customization. There's data logging, so you can push the data log button, go down the track, and look at your data, see what your tuning's doing, what it's like. And this kind of stuff just resets USB, moves logs to USB, so you can look at it on your computer if you don't have your laptop with you or plug directly in. So you can just plug your USB dongle into one of the USBs that lead down into there. And then configuration is just the actual operating system, how this is configured, how this dash is actually here. You can update your firmware, things like that. I think this is just fine. We're going to leave it. And the clock is actually correct because of our GPS unit. It got the clock from a satellite. But why don't we see what it looks like when it's actually on? See our coolant temp, our timing, our RPM. Our map was working earlier. I'm not sure what's going on here when it says low error. I think that that sensor is having a little bit of a problem. It was working earlier. It's not the dash's fault. Our fuel pressure, battery, RPM, and our miles per hour. You can even program this to show what gear you're in. Go ahead and turn the car off. And there's your gauge set. This is really cool. This is definitely something that would save you a ton of time when it comes to wiring. It's one plug to plug it into a Dominator ECU, and then you're in the Holley sort of ecosystem. And it comes on pretty darn quick. You can adjust this, you can customize this out. I just think this one is very sporty for this particular car. And there's a ton of customizability and flexibility.
So that's what the gauge cluster looks like installed and running in a project car. Now here's my honest thoughts and feelings when it comes to this product. I actually really like it. It saved a ton of time. It was literally one connector, but I will say you do need that extension in between the gauge set and the ECU because they're both female connectors. So you need that male to male connector to make it all work. So it's not technically an extension, it's actually required in that situation. So I just wanted to mention that. But as far as ease of installation, that was by far and away the easiest gauge cluster set I've ever put into anything. I've wired tons of cars in my day, and usually it takes anywhere from a couple of hours to a couple of days, depending on the complexity of the vehicle. This is an all-in-one solution that is ridiculously easy, albeit a little bit on the pricey side, but not bad if you add up all of the gauges on a normal car. You're looking pretty comparably if you're buying quality gauges. And the fact that this thing can tune on the fly and select different tunes blows a normal gauge set completely out of the water. And just plugging in that GPS unit and having a speedometer rather than running a sensor to, you know, the output shaft of the transmission or something like that, this was way, way easier. As far as accessibility goes, it's 10 out of 10. Would I recommend this product? It depends. Oh, nuance. The internet is great with nuance. If you already have a Holley Dominator ECU or a comparable product, a compatible product that will work with this gauge set, 100% go for it. But if you're someone who doesn't have that ECU already or one that will work with it, well, that gets a little complicated because a Dominator ECU, for instance, is about $2,000, and then the wiring harness that goes with it is $600. So already you're at $2,600 plus the gauge set's about $800. You're looking well into the $3,000 range just to make that digital dash work. It only makes sense if you already have that ECU or you need an ECU to control an engine. So like, let's say you had an older hot rod that, you know, you had an old Camaro with a big block in it. Do I think this gauge set is good for you? Probably not. You probably want to look for a different solution just because it's going to be more cost effective. You don't want to spend $2,000 on an ECU just to run a digital gauge set. But if you already have a fancy pants ECU with a CAN bus connector, yeah, this is awesome. You should totally buy it 100%. I stand behind it. It gets my seal of approval. I really, really like this product. And if I ever run into another Dominator in the future, I'm definitely going to recommend it. They even make an even bigger unit, which I think might be worth it. I think that one's like 1100, but it's a 10-inch screen and it's widescreen. Looks a little fancier, but this one was great for this application because I wanted it to be small and kind of sporty looking. And honestly, if you already have a Dominator ECU, this is, in my mind, pretty much the only way you're going to go as far as a gauge set. Because here's the thing, let's say you want analog gauges to work with your Dominator, you're gonna have to figure out to make the digital signal from the ECU convert to an analog signal with that gauge set. And I know there's analog to digital converters out there, but the problem lies in that all the gauges are gonna be different. So it's really tough to know exactly what values the Dominator needs to spit out at an analog gauge to get it to read correctly. And there's a lot of gray area in that, and engine controlling is not something you want to just kind of be guessing at. You really want it to be accurate, and you're getting that with this Holley digital dash. So in my book, this digital dash is a no-brainer if you already have a Dominator ECU or you have an engine like an LS that needs a Dominator ECU and a gauge set. This is an absolute buy. I definitely recommend it. But if you have an older vehicle that you would really have to put a lot of money into to get the digital dash to work, maybe think about a different option. Thank you so very much for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting at all, please consider becoming a member by clicking that join button down below as a direct way to help the channel out and keep this thing going. Barring that, a like, comment, subscription go a long way and help me out ever so much, and I really, really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.